Is everybody ready? Are you ready? Yes? Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Estrella Escobar, and I serve as Senior Chief of Staff for Mayor Leeser. Reminder to our friends in the media, do we have the microphone? No? Okay, so today you can ask your questions directly without waiting for a colleague to come to you with a microphone. With that, let me introduce Mayor Oscar Leeser.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I thank you all for being here. It's really it's a great day as we want to talk about what we've been talking about. We've been talking about this for months, and we've been talking about our goal was to reach herd immunity. And herd immunity, as you heard us say more than once, was 75%. And today, we're at 75.1%. So we want to talk today about herd immunity and how we got there. And number one is to thank the community. The community was a big part of why we reach herd immunity today. But we also want to, I want to thank my great friend, Judge Samaniego, working together with us, the county commissioners. I want to, UMC, Jacob Cintron, Office of Emergency Management, city manager, city council, Congresswoman Escobar, and all our state legislators. I can tell you that I remember the day when we were sitting there talking, and we were talking about how were we going to reach herd immunity? How were we going to get the vaccines? And it was really important that we determined how we were going to get there. If you remember, we had 300,000 people lined up that needed the vaccine. So we had to sit there and go and meet with the state and try to get the vaccines. And they finally came back, and it was a team effort to say, hey, if we can get the vaccine, if we can get you the vaccines, you find the arms, we'll get them for you, and they did. And then we had to go to the 300,000 people and make sure that we went in an order that best was going to protect our community, and that was the 65 and over. So how do we vaccinate the 65 and over? Well, this number is the most incredible number you can imagine today that we're talking about. 65 and over is 97.3 first vaccine, and 89.1, basically 90% fully vaccinated. And that was really the goal, to make sure that the most vulnerable of our population got vaccinated. So we went through the 300,000, and really we exhausted that list, and then we went on to make sure that we vaccinated everyone. Well, today we can tell you that the first vaccine for everybody 12 and over, we're at 87.3%. That's an incredible number. And this is something that we can be joyous for, that we've really worked really hard as a community to make sure that we reach these numbers. And so fully vaccinated today, the city of El Paso is 75.1%. We reach herd immunity. And if you look at the news, which I got a feeling you guys do, you see that around the state of Texas, we're at 90% of hospitalization today is occupied with people with the coronavirus. In El Paso, Texas, we're at 5.21, and that is because we are vaccinated, because we did the things that needed to make sure we vaccinate our community. So someone asked me the other day, he said, so what's next? I said, we need to continue to be vaccinated. That's what's next. We need to continue to vaccinate our community. So if you guys want to go back a little bit, 10 months ago, El Paso was not the worst in the state, but the worst in the country for coronavirus, for lost lives that we were losing from our community. So we had to come together. We had to come together as one, the county judge and I. And we really, as a community, we had to educate ourselves on how we were going to move forward. And then we move forward and help educate our community and speak with one voice. And this is what we're talking about today. We were able to achieve those goals and get herd immunity. So I want to, first of all, thank El Paso, thank our community, because if you remember in March, the governor said, you don't need to wear a mask any longer. We're okay. Open all your businesses to 100%. And we, as a group, the county judge and I, and the city, and all the elected officials, we talked about that we wanted to make sure that we advocated for wearing a mask. We advocated for social distancing. We advocated for hand sanitizing. And we asked the businesses to continue to require and not open 100% just because someone said it was okay. We said, you know what? Let's go slow and let's move slow. And we went to a lot of the restaurants. And you remember we had a press conference after that. And we talked about that we went to the restaurants. We went around the city. We went to all the businesses. And you know what? They still had capacity restrictions, and they didn't go to 100%. So I'm very thankful that we have achieved what we achieved today. But I can tell you, it's not time to let our guard down, because Dr. Ocaranza stated earlier today that 90% of all the people in the hospital today with COVID-19 are people that are not vaccinated. So it's up to us to continue to advocate for that vaccine. It's to continue to ask people to get vaccinated. And now that we have the booster shot, you know, we want to advocate for people to get the booster shot that qualify. And there are restrictions, you know, 65 and over. Some that have some underlying conditions that will be that need to be disclosed when you go in to get they're not really asking questions, but they're asking you to sign a form. So it's important that we advocate for the booster, and hopefully, really hopefully, we're going to see that the vaccine will be available in the very near future for children 5 and 12. So we need to advocate to make sure that we continue to vaccinate and keep our community safe. So I really want to, again, thank the media. And I told you guys when we talked about that we can go out there and talk about a lot of the things, but it's for you all to please communicate with our community and let them know what we're talking about. So it's been very important that we continue to be safe, continue to social distance, continue to wear our mask, and to make sure that when the vaccines are available for 12 and under 12 years of age, we'll continue to make sure we educate our community as we educate ourselves and then move forward. I think our next step, the county judge will discuss what our next step will be and how we'll continue to advocate for the safety of our community. Thank you. Judge Samaniego?
Thank you, Mayor. I thank you for that. And if anybody hit the road running, is the mayor. I mean, because of his own personal situation and his commitment to this community, it was really nice to be able to see that we had that partnership. But you know, today it's a combination of trying to explain what we need to be doing, but also the congratulations to the community and also to the media. I can tell you, you know, I belong to other county judges, and we talk about things that one of the things that's very powerful is that the media really communicates everything very properly and accurately, and we're extremely grateful that that's been the case. 75%, I remember, as the mayor said, it wasn't easy. It was sort of scary. I like benchmarks, but 75% is really, really up there. You know, when you think about everything that you have to do to get there, so being one of the first, we are the first in the state of Texas that actually has reached that. As you know, we're at level 4, which is the best level to be at this point in time, and so a lot of things to feel good about. Juarez is in level, in green, and so they're just having both of us at that level begins to be even more amazing. And that sort of reminds us of the connectivity and the synergism we have between. I cannot begin to tell you how diligent they have been in working with us and making sure that they're up at the same level. You know, this is an accomplishment. There's a lot of unsung heroes that come with this, and I want to make sure that everyone understands that you know, the front line, our healthcare workers, our law enforcement, you know, Chief Rodriguez, Chief Esparza from ESD number 2, a lot of things had to come together. We also had, we proved to the rest of the state that we were capable of doing what we wanted to do. We were just talking about it. When we reached out to Commissioner Garcia, she said something that was very powerful and sort of intimidating, and that is, you keep putting them on the arms, we'll keep giving it to you. And do you know that some counties stopped asking because they didn't have the arms, and we kept on and we kept going and we offered them. We offered them not only to our community, but we also offered it to Juarez, and Juarez was very grateful. I think it's going to be one of the gestures that's going to create a tremendous bonding between us, between everyone. I also want to let you know, we still have a mandate, according to the local health authority. We still have a mandate that we need to abide, and so it's very important that everyone understands that there's a mandate. It's the longest standing mandate so far that's helping us to continue this being able to address the situation. The numbers that are extremely important is that right now 90% of those admitted to hospitals right now in our community, 90% are unvaccinated. And the number of percentages right now of individuals that have test positive is extremely high. So we know that the vaccination is extremely important, and that's the reason why the Delta hasn't caught up. The Delta spreads quickly, as you know, but if you're in a vaccinated community, then we can fight it off. And so I think everybody should understand that. You know, if you know of someone who hasn't been vaccinated, we need to really make sure that we try and do everything that we can. Now, one of the things that's important is that we realize that we have to worry about what happens in the future, and so we're looking, the mayor and I are very, looking very delicate at what the protection, will the protection drop on the first and the second dose? How much does it drop? And then what do we do about that? How do we go from being protected and not be protected? And the booster obviously is going to be. We don't have significant information that we could talk about at this time, but the booster really needs to come in. And you've got two people, hopefully myself, I know for sure the mayor, that will rally. Once we know what we could do about the booster and who's going to get that, we're going to be ready from the hubs, and we could go back. We're one of the best logistic counties that you'll find. So we know once we have the vaccine, we're going to get into the booster, we can handle it. What I can tell you is when we talk about going forward is that the potential of hesitancy is going to increase dramatically. And so it's very important that we start thinking and getting people to understand that this is the safest thing that they could do is get that booster. One of the things we learned is that once you're in the middle and you're trying to explain to people that it's important, it's very difficult. So we're trying to, as of now, we're letting people know the booster's important. We want you to focus on that. We want you to make sure that you understand that that's how we got here. And what I've said over and over, in our rearview mirror are 2,780 plus people that died. Let's not make a U-turn. Let's never go back. It has to be in the rearview mirror because it's important, but we can't go back to it. And so, I can't even begin to tell you how proud the mayor and I are about how El Paso's been a beacon of hope. We've always been a role model, and I think this is going to help us to continue, not only to help ourselves, but to help other communities understand what happens when you do the right thing, what happens when you get vaccinated, because we have evidence of what happens. Other communities have evidence of what happens when you don't get vaccinated, and now going into a crisis that we were in November, they're having to go at it at this point in time. Once again, I thank the mayor for the partnership. I thank you, the media, for everything that you do and how you convey the information. And once again, it's a celebration of hope, not a celebration of giving up, that we go forward and show the rest of the community that, we have to get vaccinated and we have to be prudent, and that will be the answer going forward. Thank you.
Again, we're going to open up to some questions, but I think the numbers are so self-explanatory that we are doing the right thing. We are making sure that our community is safe. And if you remember, we asked for feedback back in March and February of, how we could continue to improve the community. And we got that feedback. Some was negative, some was positive. We looked at it all to improve our process, and that's where we came up with that dashboard that's really been very helpful, not only to you as the media, but our community and us to look at where we need to focus and concentrate on. And with that, we have any questions?
So, like the county judge just said, the mask mandate still stands. Do you see that changing at any point in the future now that we've reached herd immunity?
The mandate for the mask still stands for, and it's important because someone made a statement that said, our numbers don't show. How can we continue? And we're going, our numbers don't show because we've done that. Our numbers don't show because we've done the right thing. We want to continue to protect the children, protect everyone that has not been vaccinated, and continue to protect our community. So, you know, we don't want to wait for the numbers to get really bad, because sometimes it's really hard to come back. And I think the perfect example was 10 months ago.
Can I just real quick?
Go ahead, sir. Absolutely.
I just want to make emphasis that we had originally focused more on the schools, and then we were able to get it to everyone else. I think that if the best of both worlds is that we continue the mandate in the schools much more so than the larger community, if that's a compromise. Because we still have the 12 and under that are unprotected, and so as much as we would like to leave things behind, the mask in schools is not one of them. The teachers are extremely worried and cautious because of the children under the age of 12. And so my preface would be, if we don't get the large overall mask mandate, that at least we protect the schools. The teachers are extremely important to us, and we want to make sure that they know that we appreciate them. And I think having a mask mandate in the schools would be extremely appreciated by all teachers and everyone involved in the school districts.
Mr. Jackson.
Yes, can you tell me a little bit what the booster shot rollout will look like? And is there kind of a rough time estimate when that might happen?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you, sir.
Can you tell me a little bit about the booster, the booster rollout, what that process will look like, and when that might happen?
No, the booster rollout has been, the FDA has kind of given us the new guidelines, and the guidelines are 65 and over and people with chronic diseases. And so those guidelines have been set. The good thing about it is that we had a meeting on Friday, and we met with some of the medical providers, and they have ramped up, and they're ready, and they have the booster shot available, and we'll continue to administer the booster shot, like I said, 65 and over, and anyone with chronic diseases that feel they need the booster shot. And the CDC will continue to look at the guidelines and continue to look at when the guidelines will be changed at this point.
I have a quick follow-up too. With the Delta variant in the community, does that change the goalpost for herd immunity?
Well, we're very cautious, and we understand that what's been going on around the state of Texas, we understand what's going on around the country. So we want to become and continue to become proactive. The great thing about the Delta variant that we've seen in El Paso, we've only had 13 cases reported. And that's because we have had the mask mandate. That's because we have reached herd immunity. We've done the things that will continue to protect our community. But the Delta variant is a very contagious and very fast and rapid moving variant. So we want to make sure we continue to be proactive. I did an interview on a statewide television station, and one of the questions they said was, everything seems to travel weeks, maybe a month or so slower to El Paso. Are you all worried? I said, we will always continue to be worried, but we'll continue to be proactive to make sure we don't get affected. Yes, ma'am.
Just kind of following up on that question, the DSHS told us today that we don't have enough scientific data yet to really determine the level of vaccination necessary for herd immunity. They cited Delta variant pushing the threshold to upward of 85% and higher. So what makes you guys so confident that you can tout reaching herd immunity right now, with other estimates saying it's now much higher?
You want to take that, sir?
Can you make it more succinct? Because there was
We didn't hear
I
you
think
very
there was
well.
five questions in one.
The DSHS is saying that now the goalpost has been moved out and they really can't determine what herd immunity is anymore because of the Delta variant. They're saying there's estimates upwards of 85% and higher. So what makes you confident that you can tout that we've reached herd immunity when really the goalpost could be further away than what we are right now?
Well, the confidence is what the mayor is saying. As long as the community continues to do what they've done, we're always, it's like being ahead at the football game and we're leading at the fourth quarter. I'd rather be leading than losing at that fourth quarter, and we're leading right now. So the traction and the momentum going forward, that's what's going to help us. And that Mexico also, we're waiting for, we understand now that the bridges won't be open, but until next month, but we're know that if they were lower, it's going to be difficult for us to work together. So we have tremendous traction. Mayor and I have a lot of confidence that the community is going to keep moving forward. And like I said, being ahead of the game is really, really important versus coming up like some of the other communities that weren't vaccinated. They're coming from behind. That's a really difficult task to keep up with the Delta variant. Yes.
You know, and I want to answer a little something because I think that's important, that we take our guidance and recommendation from the Public Health Authority and Dr. Ocarancha and the guidance, and we'll continue to do that. So it's really important as we look at what our next step will be to continue to take our guidance from the Health Public Authority and to look at what's our next step as a community.
First question is, do you see our status level changing from yellow to orange now that we've reached herd immunity? And the second question is there a chance that the ports of entry and bridges will open up sooner than expected now that we have reached herd immunity?
Well, no, as the mayor and I were discussing that it doesn't depend on us because you have all the border that they make a conclusion or determination based on everyone. So it's not just us, you know, that they say we're doing good, Juarez is doing good, we'll open the bridges. That's not going to be the case. It was reported today that it'll be until October. And so they're taking everything into consideration throughout the border, not just ourselves. And then the second question, if you want to repeat that?
So just confirm that it's still planned to open up in October, not any sooner now that we've reached the goal.
Exactly. And then in our case at the courthouse, for example, we're moving into trying to get to 75%. We're trying to keep up because we need to keep the community motivated. If they see that things aren't changing, then they might be reluctant. We have to make the connection between, you know, that we're doing well and new things happen. And so we're very aware of that. And we're trying our best to make sure that the community feels that they're getting rewarded by what they're doing.
And the first question was, are we going to go from yellow to orange now, or are we staying in yellow?
Well, that'll be a determination from public health, so we'll see what they're going to tell us.
Is there a time frame for that, or?
I think right now is the time because we reached 75%, and then they can make the determination.
Thank you.
Judge, can you say that in Spanish, please?
¿Cuál parte?
La parte de los puentes.
Sí, sabemos que pues se decepciona mucho la gente porque no se abrieron los puentes, pero no esa base. No quiero que se sientan desanimados simplemente porque no abrieron los puentes, porque no toman en cuenta únicamente El Paso y Juárez, toman en cuenta toda la frontera. Entonces, para nosotros no queremos que se desanimen. Cada vez llegamos un poco más cerca. Yo tengo con el Mauricio Ibarra, el cónsul, también estábamos más pensando que iba a ser octubre, porque había ciertos factores como el día festivo de Labor Day, que iba a suceder después de eso. Hay muchos factores, entonces me siento yo mucho más seguro de que va a ser en octubre, pero no quiero que alguien se desanime y piensen que pues para qué hacemos tanto cuando no resulta. Sí está resultando, nos estamos arrimando y creo que va a ser algo muy positivo en octubre.
Pues también podría darnos un comentario en español de lo que se habla ahora de la inmunidad de rebaño que alcanzó el paso.
Sí, pues llegar al 75% de todos vacunados y algo muy similar en Juárez es algo que el presidente Biden nos pidió y somos los primeros en todo el estado de Texas que logró llegar al 75% y como dice su alcalde, de que no fue una persona, fue toda la combinación de todos, hacer todo lo posible para llegar allí, el condado, el estado, también la actitud, ¿verdad?, de la gente que respondieron. En los medios, como les digo, los reconocemos por dar información muy acertada. La gente depende mucho en ustedes, cada uno tienen alguien icono ahí de que le creen, es una voz de confianza y eso nos está ayudando a llegar a esto. Es un esfuerzo muy, muy comunitario y me preguntaban qué seguridad tenemos si suben al 85%. Les digo que pues mucha seguridad porque vamos en esa carretera. Les digo que es como ir ganando en el cuarto de un juego, se siente mejor que ir perdiendo. Ahorita el paso, gracias al alcalde, de todo lo que ha sucedido, que estamos en una posición muy buena para dejar esta situación y como les digo, atrás de nosotros hay 2.700 personas que murieron, 2.780 personas que murieron. siempre tenemos que estar pendiente, nunca regresar a esa situación y en honor de ellos hacer todo lo posible para que no muera otra persona.
Y ahora que es lo que procede, ¿piensan relajar las medidas en cuanto al uso de mascarilla obligatorio o qué es lo que-
No, ahorita es mandatorio y les decía que yo prefiero, ojalá que si un compromiso fuera de que o de llegar a un acuerdo fuera más de que no fuera para la comunidad en general, pero para mí sí en las escuelas porque hay niños que no están protegidos, que son de la edad de 12 y menores, que no dependen en nada, no más que la mascarilla para protegerse. Y los maestros, que les damos muchas gracias, van a hacer todo lo posible para ayudarnos. Hay que ayudarles a ellos también, protegerlos a ellos y a los niños.
Hey, Judge, just switching gears a little bit, we're being told by other media outlets that there's already 1,500 patients here in El Paso, and we can expect 500 daily to arrive. Can you give us an update on that?
Yeah, the mayor and I have been updated on that. I know I don't want to get into too much detail but what it relates to COVID is that we know that the CDC is issuing the Title 42, which allows us, Title 42 has nothing to do with federal government. It's a mandate that says this is a way you prevent getting COVID to spread. And so that one has helped a lot because a lot of the individuals have been sent back to their country. And of course, the Prime Minister of Haiti is saying he wants them back. And that's allowed us. If we couldn't have Title 42, we would be in a really big crisis. It's very manageable. The mayor and I are in meetings with them constantly. They feel very confident that it's manageable at this time. Del Rio, I'm sorry to say, it got ahead of them, and they don't have the collaboration that we do here in our community. And we're getting some from there because of their inability at this point to handle them. And I don't mind saying that because I was allowed to say that they need a lot of help from us, and El Paso is always ready to help out.
Are those numbers accurate, 1,500 already here and 500 arriving daily?
Yeah, and we can handle that. There's no problem. It would have to increase tremendously for us to go from manageable to a crisis.
And whereabouts are they staying? Can you tell us?
No, they're going straight. They're going detention and straight to the airports and out of the country.
And are there any resources, sorry, that are going from the county or city to helping those Haitian refugees?
Pardon me?
Are there any resources from the city or county that you guys are using to help the Haitians?
Right, not at this point. Right now, they're being handled by the immigration agencies, and they're doing a tremendous job. We thank God that they have this ability to work together.
One more
Thank
time in Spanish, please.
A ver si no le tienen algo para.
You know, one of the things I do want to add that we all have been working together to make sure that we know what's happening within our community. And we had a meeting with all the federal agencies and all on Friday. We met again. I had conversation on Sunday because it's important that we're prepared and ready. And that's been the biggest difference, as you've seen in El Paso, that we are prepared and we're working together and we know what's coming down. And we got prepared and make sure we're prepared. And like the county judge is saying that all the NGOs, the ERO, and CBP and everybody is working together to make sure that there's not a crisis in our area at this time.
So you are confirming that there's 1,500 here already and 500 arriving every day? That is confirmed or no?
We're not concerned at this time because we've been working on preparation for a long time. And at this time, we're not needed at this point because it's within the context of the detention, and so we feel comfortable. The only problem that would happen, to be in all honesty, is if Del Rio continues not to be able to manage them, and they divert them directly to El Paso, but we're ready to understand what we need to do. One of the issues is that it's the same infrastructure. So as we work with Afghans as we're moving them to the airport and being able to process them and go different places, we need to have that same infrastructure. So we've been asked by the immigration to make everything possible to see if we could get more flights. So it's more management, more flights, get people to get to their places quicker. I think it's very manageable at this time.
Judge, are those flights going directly to Haiti from El Paso, or are they going to other U.S.
No, directly to Haiti. Thank you.
We're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, but I want to thank y'all. And one of the things that I want to make sure we all take away from this today is that these numbers we saw today didn't happen by accident. It happened by a lot of people working together and making sure. So one of the things we're going to recommend is to be consistent and continue to do what got us these numbers, and that's a social distance, sanitize our hands, and wear masks. But we'll continue to be consistent. But again, I think it's so important to realize that what happened in these numbers was not by accident. A lot of hard work by so many people. And I'm going to say it one more time, because if I could move this wall away, we'd see the hundreds of people that really it took to make sure our community was safe. And there's so many people that if I started naming them, I'd still leave a couple hundred out. So I want to thank everyone. Thank you all for being here. But the biggest thing is I want to make sure we thank our community for being proactive to make sure that we're safe. So thank you, and God bless everyone.